Ready to dive deep? We're tackling Sie liebt zu deinen Frauen today. It's stirring up a lot of conversation, and we're going to unpack why, especially its impact on men.
It's way more than just like a relationship advice book, right?
Right from the start, he throws you into the story of Tom. Successful guy, but keeps messing up with women without a clue.
Yeah, it's like relatable, but also like, ouch, you know?
Total car crash, but in slow motion.
Exactly. Mund uses him to show how we act out these biases without realizing it. Thinks he's a good guy, but his actions. Different story.
Makes you think, wait, am I like Tom? I think that's what's got people talking.
And that's the point, right? Not to blame, but to figure out the why. Where did these behaviors come from? What are we just blindly doing from society?
And he gives you a way forward, not just stays theoretical.
Yeah.
Lays out these ideas of empathy, respect, equality, like the foundation to build on.
And it's deep, not the surface stuff. Not about flowers on Valentine's Day, though. Hey, those are nice, too.
It's more, like respecting a woman's opinion isn't just hearing her, it's that you actually value what she's saying, the history behind it all, her boundaries.
He really wants men to imagine, how would I feel if this was happening to me? And a huge chunk of the book is about women's health.
Doesn't hold back on the details either. Gets into periods, hormones, how that impacts everything physically and emotionally.
It's bridging this knowledge gap so many guys have, you know. Mund makes it clear, saying, I didn't know, doesn't cut it anymore.
Take the time to learn. Be a part of understanding what the women in your life go through.
This all matters for family planning, too, right? It's both people's responsibility, not just the women's, to decide about contraception, all that.
So not just on her to handle birth control, it's a discussion, a shared choice with huge consequences.
He even gets into the nitty-gritty of, like, the pill, side effects. Men need to be informed and supportive, not clueless.
Recognizing that medication impacts her body and mind, and we need to be aware of that.
Totally. And from there, it's like, this leads into a better way to approach intimacy in general. Mund's big on open communication, consent, being present, not just going through the motions.
So not just physical, but that deeper intimacy, being connected in those moments.
Exactly, yeah. Challenges what guys have been told it means to be a man in the bedroom, you know? Be more present, talk, care about her pleasure.
Shipping away from that performance pressure towards something more genuine and connected. And this ties into, I think, the male privilege part that's getting so much attention.
Oof. Yeah, that one makes people squirm a little.
It's an awkward talk to have, but Mund goes there.
Yeah.
Guys have to see the advantages they just get from being male, that they might not even realize are advantages.
Those little ways society's tilted in their favor, work, social stuff, even just walking down the street sometimes.
And it comes out in ways we don't think about. Interrupting more in meetings, taking up space literally, assuming they're in charge, even if they haven't earned it yet.
Becoming aware of that and then actively fighting against it, that's huge.
Not just saying I'm not sexist, it's how am I part of the problem without knowing it?
Exactly. And that's why he's so big on self-reflection, looking inward at what you actually believe, how you act.
Like holding up a mirror,
Yeah.
right? Uncomfortable, but we need it to grow.
And it's not about making guys feel bad, but giving them a way to be part of the solution.
See the blind spots, the biases we all have, and actually work to change them.
Absolutely. Being more conscious, aware, how we treat women has to be thought out, not just on autopilot.
And that's what's powerful, I think. It's not blaming, it's here's how to be better as a partner, coworker, human.
And it starts with looking at yourself honestly, right? Then you can do the work.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
Speaking of, Mund talks a lot about how media messes with how we see gender roles.
Oh, yeah. Huge influence. What's
Yeah.
a man? What's a woman? Usually those harmful stereotypes, the expectations that are impossible to live up to.
From when we were little, right?
Yeah.
Ads, movies, social media, it never stops.
And it gets in your head without you realizing. Affects what you believe, how you act, everything.
Like that saying, if you're not paying, you are the product. We're being sold these limited ideas of men and women all the time.
And it hurts relationships. Like he talks about porn, often seems harmless fun, but it can warp how you see sex, intimacy in real life.
Like those perfect bodies, always airbrushed, it's not real, sets everyone up for feeling inadequate instead of appreciating how people actually are.
He's not saying ban it all, but to be more critical. What are you taking in?
Be aware of the message, the bias, and choose stuff that fits with your values.
Be a smart consumer. Question the stories you're told. Find different voices. Support creators doing good work, not the harmful stuff.
We control what we let into our heads. It's about being intentional.
And speaking of harmful, gotta talk about toxic masculinity. Big topic.
Right. It's everywhere these days. But Mund breaks it down clearly, why it's so damaging. to men 80, everyone around them.
That old idea of being a man, being tough, emotionless, always in control, it backfires hard.
Like they're trapped, can't express feelings, ask for help.
And it comes out sideways. Anger, aggression, addictions.
Ticking time bomb. And often the people closest to them get hurt the worst.
He's saying reject that narrow definition. Embrace something more real, caring.
Like vulnerability, being empathetic, emotional intelligence. Those aren't weaknesses, they're strengths.
Totally. What's a 21st century man? Someone who can feel the whole range, not just shut down.
Breaking free from those expectations, finding a better way to just be E.
And it's bigger than one guy changing. It's got to be a cultural shift. Valuing these things in everyone.
Men and women working together to dismantle the bad stuff, create a world where everybody feels seen, heard, respected.
Absolutely. Recognizing we're all human and building something more loving for all of us.
Big task. But I think we're up for it, aren't we?
Yeah, I do. And this book is a good start to the conversation, that's for sure.
Gives you a lot to chew on. You mentioned earlier Mund going deep on women's health, and he does. Beyond just the basics, what are we talking about?
He gets into the stuff that's often misunderstood, hushed up, or guys just plain don't know.
Like what? Give us the rundown.
So the emotional roller coaster of periods, right? Hormones changing affects mood, energy, even how you feel about yourself, and it's all connected.
A whole other dimension most men have zero clue about.
Exactly. He's saying educate yourselves, ask questions, be supportive, don't check out just because you don't personally get cramps.
It's real, even if we don't get it, and that's what matters.
And it goes beyond just the physical stuff. Emotional and mental impact like pregnancy, postpartum, menopause, huge changes.
Those are often hidden topics, shrouded in shame, but Mund brings them into the light.
He's normalizing it, you know. This is part of a woman's life. It's natural. Talk about it openly. No shame in that.
Break the taboo. Let women share what's going on without feeling judged or dismissed. So important.
And he doesn't shy away from the tough parts either. Pregnancy, childbirth, it's hard on the body, physically and even emotionally.
Got to ditch the romanticized view of motherhood. Acknowledge what women actually go through.
Yeah, it's a partnership, bringing a child into the world. Shared responsibility, not just the woman's burden to carry.
Be there, be present, offer support through all of it, not just the moment the baby arrives.
And that shared responsibility, it's in everything, right? Chores, childcare, money, even just the emotional work of a relationship.
Recognizing that women aren't inherently better at it, often they've just been told it's their job, which isn't fair.
It's limiting, it's outdated, got to challenge those old roles.
So it's about dividing things fairly, recognizing strengths and weaknesses, building a partnership that's balanced.
For sure. Where both people feel valued, heard, seen.
Yeah.
That's what we're going for.
And that brings us back to communication, which he talks a lot about.
So key, because even with good intentions, if you can't communicate, game over.
Right, it's the foundation. Mund's big on that, being open, honest, respectful, all of it.
Not talking at each other, but listening. Really trying to understand and being willing to have the hard conversations, not just the easy ones.
Putting your own stuff aside for a minute, your feelings, your agenda, to really get where they're coming from, that's tough.
Requires empathy, right? Putting yourself in their shoes. And honestly, that's something guys are often told not to do, to be tough instead.
Which can be isolating. But he's saying vulnerability is where the good stuff happens.
Totally. You build trust that way, real intimacy.
So it's about creating that space where you both feel safe to open up needs, desires, fears, all of it.
Requires self-awareness too, right? Know yourself, to know your partner, that kind of thing.
He's big on doing your own inner work. What are your triggers, your patterns, the baggage we all carry around?
Because we've all got it. It's not pretending it's not there. It's handling it so you don't wreck your relationship with it.
Taking responsibility, basically. And if you need help, that's okay. Therapy, journaling, close friends.
Asking for help's not weak. It's actually really strong. Shows self-awareness. But again, men are told the opposite. Be stoic.
Which gets lonely fast.
Yeah.
So breaking down those walls, allowing space to be real, flaws and all.
And that can be incredibly powerful. Personally, Andy, in your work, everything.
You connect on a deeper level, build trust, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. And that's what this book's all about, I think. Connection. Between men and women, building understanding, creating something better for everyone.
Nicely said. It resonates, for sure. We all want to feel connected, that intimacy, belonging.
And we all have a part to play in making the world a little more fair, a little kinder.
So much to unpack here as we dig deeper into Sei Liebe deinen Frauen. It's more than relationships. It's personal growth, societal change, seeing each other as human. What are some key takeaways you got from it?
One that really hit me was how he talks about the media showing women's bodies like they're objects,
Mm.
leads to those crazy beauty standards, even feeds into objectification, violence. It's messed up.
Airbrush, photoshopped, none of it's real.
And the pressure that puts on women to look impossible hurts their self-esteem, how they see their bodies.
And it tells men that's all women are, something to look at, judged on their appearance, not as people.
Reduces them to bodies, ignores their intelligence, their personality, everything.
We got to fight those representations in the media, A&D, in our own heads.
Absolutely. Beauty comes in every shape and size, and the real deal comes from within, right?
Love women for their whole selves, not just how they look.
And that takes effort. Changing how we see things, challenging those old beliefs about what's beautiful, what's feminine. It's all messed up.
Be mindful of what you're letting in, even unconsciously, and look for different portrayals of women, the diversity that's out there.
Support the creators doing that good work, celebrating real women.
Create a world where they feel empowered to be themselves, not what society tells them to be. So important.
It starts with education, understanding how those messages got in our heads in the first place.
Having those hard talks, challenging ourselves, dismantling the systems that keep this stuff going.
And it's not just on women to speak up. Men have to be part of this. Challenge sexism, misogyny, everywhere they see it.
Because staying silent, that's being okay with it.
Use your voice, your platform, whatever you've got to amplify the voices that have been silenced for too long.
Be allies, advocates, accomplices in this fight for equality.
And you gotta educate yourself to do that right. How does this stuff work? What are my blind spots? It's on us to figure that out.
We've all got them, and it's our job to fix them.
It's a process, never really ends. There'll be screw-ups, but the point is to keep learning, growing, trying to be better.
Progress over perfection, right?
Exactly. And that means being kind to yourself and others along the way. We're all in this together.
And it's a journey worth taking. Imagine a world where everyone feels valued, respected, can reach their potential. That's what we're fighting for.
Well said.
Now, Mund talks about this Weiser alter man mentality. It's a bit to unpack there.
Yeah, this is where he pushes people to see their own biases, no matter your age, race, gender, whatever.
It's not just about literal old white guys. It's the mindset he's getting at. Resisting change, holding on to power.
People who benefit from things staying the same and don't want to admit the system's messed up or fix it.
Holding on to power, fighting against making things fair.
And that looks like a lot of things. Subtle digs, outright discrimination, all of it.
Interrupting, talking over people, dominating conversations, taking up space without thinking.
Benefiting from privilege they didn't earn and not even realizing it, or worse, refusing to.
And it's not always on purpose, right? Sometimes it's just the way you were raised, stuff you don't even realize you're doing.
Exactly, but that doesn't make it okay.
Those little things add up, you know? Chip away at someone's sense of self-worth, like they don't belong.
I'm not like that isn't enough anymore. Gotta look at yourself, honestly. Am I part of the problem?
Hard conversations to have, but essential.
Listen to people different from you, hear their experiences, and believe them. So often the ones benefiting from this stuff, they don't even see it.
Step outside that comfort zone. Be willing to learn and change.
And be humble about it. Admit you're wrong sometimes. Be open to changing your mind.
Nobody has all the answers, and that's okay. It's a journey.
Always something new to learn, always challenging those biases, getting a wider perspective, trying to be more inclusive. That's the work.
So as we go deeper into Sei lieb zu deinen Frauen, keep that Weiser alter man idea in the back of your mind.
It's a lens, you know? See how we might be contributing to those systems, even if we don't mean to.
It's on all of us to do better, and it starts with looking at ourselves honestly.
And that's a good chunk of what this book's about, right? Becoming more conscious, making better choices.
Now, he also gets really practical, how to build those better relationships. You're the expert there. What did you find useful?
That's where his therapy background really comes out. Actual tools, strategies couples can use, better communication, stronger connection, even arguing in a healthier way.
So not just talking about it, but doing it.
Exactly. He's big on active listening, not just hearing the words, but tuning in to your partner, what they're saying, what their body language is saying, the whole deal.
Put yourself aside, your thoughts and feelings, to truly get them.
And then reflect back what you heard so you're both on the same page, not making assumptions.
Hearing and understanding. That's the key.
And it takes empathy, right? Their feelings are valid, even if you don't agree.
Which can be hard. But that's where communication skills come in. He talks about I statements, expressing your needs without blaming or attacking.
Owning your stuff, basically. Saying how you feel, but respectfully, so it's productive, not destructive.
Creating a safe space for both of you to be honest without judgment or fear.
Which builds intimacy, trust.
That foundation of mutual respect where you both feel seen, heard, valued. That's the bedrock.
Then you can weather those conflicts that pop up, because they always do.
Conflict's not bad in itself, it's how you handle it. Brings you closer or rips you apart.
Exactly. See it as a chance to learn, grow closer, not a battle to win.
Be willing to compromise, find solutions that work for both of you, and sometimes being kind is more important than being right, you know?
Ooh, good one. And that kindness extends to ourselves, which he talks about a lot. Self-compassion.
Treat yourself how you treat someone you love.
We're all human. We're going to mess up. It's okay to not be perfect all the time.
Let go of the self-criticism. Embrace the flaws.
Because you can't love someone else until you love yourself, right? Starts there.
As we explore this more, sei lieb zu deinen Frauen, those themes keep coming up. Communication, empathy, self-compassion.
The building blocks, really, for healthy relationships, but also just being a good person, I think.
And creating that better world we keep talking about, it all starts with us.
Well said. He's saying, guys, step up, be mentors, sponsor women, fight for their careers to advance, make workplaces better for everyone.
Break down those barriers, because when women succeed, we all do. Right?
Absolutely. It's about opportunity for everyone, regardless of gender. And this ties into another big thing Mund talks about, consent.
So important. And not just about sex, but respecting each other's limits, having autonomy in all parts of the relationship.
It's ongoing consent, not a one-time thing, but a conversation you keep having.
What your partner was into yesterday might not be it today. You got to keep checking in.
Right. Verbally, non-verbally, make sure you're both still on the same page. And being okay if their boundaries are different from yours, respecting that.
He talked about power dynamics, too, which adds a whole other layer. Age differences, experience, social status.
All that plays into it. Got to be aware, are you using your position to pressure them? Not cool.
And consent can be taken back anytime, for any reason. Even if they were into it before, they can change their mind.
Exactly. It's their right. Respecting their autonomy, their choice. Always.
This is heavy stuff, but so important to talk about. And Mund doesn't shy away from another tough one. Men and their relationship with porn.
Yeah, makes people uncomfortable, but
I got over there.
it's everywhere, and it affects how we see sex, relationships.
Ourselves even.
He's not saying it's all bad, but
Yeah.
guys need to think about how it's impacting them, their relationships, their mental state, all of it.
What messages are you taking in? What fantasies are you playing out in your head? And how's that affecting your real life?
Exactly. He talks about ethical porn, too, being aware of how it's made. Did everyone consent? Were they treated right?
Just like any other product, be a conscious consumer.
And remember, it's not real. It's fantasy. Keep that line clear.
Because mixing those up leads to all sorts of problems. Unrealistic expectations, feeling disappointed, even hurting someone.
So back to reality. Mund talks about this thing he calls emotional labor and how often it falls on women in relationships.
It's invisible, right? But
Yeah.
so much work. Keeping everyone happy, being the emotional support, smoothing things over.
Managing emotions, yours and theirs. And yeah, often it's the woman doing the heavy lifting, which gets old fast.
He wants men to see it, first of all. What's she doing to keep things running? And then, how can they share the load?
Offer support without being asked. Notice when she's overwhelmed. Do your share of the chores, the life stuff.
Relationships go both ways. Both people got to contribute equally. That's the ideal.
Absolutely. Now, switching gears a bit, there's a really heartwarming part where he talks about fathers and sons.
Essential relationship. Fathers shape so much of their sons' lives, how they see themselves, how they treat others.
It's huge. And Mund says, dads, you have to be good role models. Show them empathy, respect, how to handle emotions in a healthy way.
Break the cycle of that toxic masculinity, you know?
Yeah.
Show them it's okay to be vulnerable, to have feelings, to reject those old school ideas about what being a man means.
Create a space where they can just be, talk about what's going on, ask for help.
Built on love, trust, respect. That's the kind of father-son bond that changes things.
And gives them the tools they need to build good relationships, handle life's ups and downs, make the world a better place.
It's bigger than just them. It ripples outwards.
Every action has a consequence, right? So make them good ones, show up, be present, embody the values you want to see in the world.
Well said. Now, what about the women? This book's mainly for men, but there's stuff in there for us too, right?
Oh, definitely. He gets it, sees the struggles women face in this kind of society, and he offers support. Tells them they're strong, resilient, wise.
Recognizing all that women are all that they overcome.
And he encourages them to embrace their own power, use their voices, fight back against the system that tries to hold them down.
You're not alone in this. There are men, women, all fighting for that better world.
And he says to be patient, with the guys who are trying to unlearn the bad stuff. It's a process, takes time.
We're all works in progress, right?
Yeah.
Even with the best intentions, nobody's perfect.
Exactly. One thing that really struck me was how he ties all this back to culture, societal expectations.
Because it's bigger than just individuals.
Yeah.
Right? We're all swimming in this soup of messages about gender relationships.
We're shaped by it, whether we realize it or not. Those norms, expectations, they run deep.
And often we don't even see them. They're so ingrained.
Mund's saying, question everything, challenge those expectations, fight for a world where everyone can thrive no matter what.
We're not powerless. We can shape culture too, not just be molded by it. It's a choice.
Now, on a more practical level, he gives advice for how to actually talk about this stuff, which is hard.
Those conversations about gender, relationships, loaded, but so necessary.
He says, come from a place of empathy. Be respectful. Listen to understand, not just to respond.
Create that safe space where you can both be honest, feel heard.
Use I statements. Talk from your own experience, not blaming or accusing.
This is how I feel, not you did this to me. Big difference.
And watch your tone, your body language.
Yeah.
It all matters.
Even with good intentions, sometimes those nonverbal cues send a different message.
So be mindful. All right, last but not least, because it's easy to get overwhelmed with all this, Mund reminds us that little changes add up.
Yeah, it can feel huge, right? Like, what can one person do against all this?
But every journey starts with a step. Even small acts of kindness, compassion, standing up for what's right, it ripples outwards.
Focus on what you can control. Make a difference in your own little corner of the world.
Challenge that sexist joke, mentor that young woman, even just notice your own thoughts and biases. It all matters.
And celebrate the small wins,
Yeah.
Progress, not perfection.
Exactly. We're in this for the long haul. It's about recognizing we're all in this together, and those little steps forward, they lead to big change eventually.
It can feel like that for sure. But he's saying, look, we all have those moments. What matters is what we do about it.
It's about catching yourself, right? Noticing those biases instead of just blindly acting them out.
And that takes practice, which can be uncomfortable. But that's how we grow.
He offers hope, though, even when it feels overwhelming.
Because it's easy to get stuck there thinking it's too big to fix.
He's like, one step at a time, folks.
What can you control? Your own little corner of the world. Start there.
Be the change, right? In your own head, your words, your actions. Those ripple outwards.
It's not about being perfect. It's about making progress. Every little bit counts.
And celebrating those wins. Otherwise, you'll burn out, thinking you got to fix everything at once.
Long game, not a sprint.
Exactly. And one thing that's hopeful, he's big on making things better for the next T generation, not just us dealing with the mess.
So it's not enough to just figure out our own WN stuff. Got to think about the kids, right?
Raising them differently. Boys and girls, understanding these roles are mostly made up, and limiting everyone.
Challenge those old stereotypes. Let kids be who they are, not what some book said they should be.
He wants parents to create that space where kids feel safe to be themselves no matter what.
And we have to show them how it's done. Living those values, empathy, respect, equality.
Because they're watching, how we treat each other, how we move through the world. That's what sinks in.
Be the role models you wish you'd had. Break the cycle. That's how we make a better world for them, right?
It's not just on parents, though. It takes a village, as they say. We can all influence the next generation in big and small ways.
How we interact with young people, what we do in our communities, the choices we make every day. It all adds up.
So wrapping up our deep dive into Sei lieb zu deinen Frauen, hope, action, and thinking about the future. That's what I'm taking away.
A call to action for everyone. Men, women, step up, speak up, make some noise, create that world where everyone feels loved, respected, where they can truly be themselves.
It's possible, but we got to do the work.
This has been quite the journey, honestly. Eye-opening, challenging, hopeful. Thanks for coming along for the ride, everyone. Remember, even small changes can make a big difference. Let's do this.